Hello, it's Charles Fockaert, November 5th, 2018. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support of this channel. I'm not only now on YouTube, I'm also on BitChute, and I'm at Minds.com. And I would encourage you, as I've said before, to participate over there at Minds. And I won't go into that any further. This video is on republicanism, that our government was founded as a republic, not a democracy. And tomorrow is the elections here, the midterm elections in the United States. Pretty big day tomorrow. And I wanted to, I've been reading through this book. I used to have this book back in the 80s, and I went overseas and I gave my library to my brother for safekeeping. And he's one of those people that can't live within his means, so he sold, bless his heart, he sold all my books at a yard sale, he told me, because they were, quote, heavy. So I lost my library. I had an extensive library, but this was one of the books in the library. And I saw this the other day in a thrift shop for $0.25. And yes, I know Mr. Bloom's a Jew. I get it. He's a Jew, but for $0.25, I figure, and he ain't going to get the money, I figured I'd read through it again, and I've been doing that. And I wanted to talk about the difference between a republic and a democracy, because we are going to vote, and we hear it all the time, the United States is a democracy. We're bringing democracy to other parts of the world, etc. There was a war fought, I can't remember who it was, World War I or World War II, where, I think World War I, making democracy safe in the world or something like that. I have to look into that again. But republic basically is under the rule of law. And we've been granted inalienable rights, inalienable or unalienable, which are rights that can never be taken away from us. And that's where we get the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and our legal system is based on the commandments found in the Bible. Now, a lot of you people, you leave comments here and you're telling me that the Bible is a junk book and it's a myth, and you know, I really don't want to hear about it, so don't waste your time, because you don't know the first thing about the Bible, because you probably don't even have a Bible, but yet you think you're an expert because you've heard things that were taught to you at the public school. They started taking the Bible and Scripture out of the public schools back in the late 1970s and early 80s. That's why our children, my two oldest children, biological children, went to homeschool. They went to homeschool. We taught them at home, and then we had our own private Christian school. So we were able to teach our two oldest children the Scripture, the Bible, and that was a good education for them, I believe. And I don't think they'd argue with me on that point. So we got the foundation of the United States, the federal government and the state government is a republic. It's not a democracy. A democracy is completely different than a republic. We have natural rights, which we see are now trying to be taken away under the form of democracy. Other people are telling us that we have free speech, but not hate speech. Well, that's like saying, you know, I want to change the oil in my car, but I don't want to put all the 5 quarts in. I only want to put 4 quarts in. And then later they're going to say, well, there's some other part of the Bill of Rights they don't like the Second Amendment. Well, you're allowed to have weapons, but you can't have ammunition. So now they're going to put 3 quarts of oil. See, the engine won't run like it should, and it'll probably wear out and blow up without enough oil in it. Okay, that may be a bad analogy, but that's what I come up with off the top of my head. I read a book by Samuel Rutherford, and I wish I had it here that I could show you. And it was called Lex Rex, because before that, in the King of England, it was Rex, the King, is the law. And that's what the Founding Fathers rebelled against. The King could make the law, and we had to obey the law, and that's what they're doing again today. The government is trying, or they're using their corporate Google's, Alphabet, YouTube, Facebook, you got them all, Twitter. They're using them to curtail our right to use the public square, which is now social media. And they're trying to curtail, they're trying to take away our inalienable right to speak our mind, because some people get offended. Some people don't like what some of us have to say, and so they're through the auspices of the ADL, the Jewish-controlled ADL, they're educating the police departments and the schools and all the rest of the public, the state governments, the local jurisdictions, as to how they should conduct themselves as police officers and as being in the public. You know, how their view and their paradigm and their approach to ruling. And one thing we need to remember is that the Republic was set up by white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. We don't hear that anymore. In the 80s, we used to hear 70s, late 70s, 80s. It was white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, the WASP. You heard it all the time. Now we don't hear that. We don't hear that anymore. In fact, when we hear it now, it's a bad thing. We got white privilege. We got male privilege. We got white male privilege, etc. But the point is, they used to teach this in school. Basically, from what I can tell, compared to what's going on now, I had a very good, a fairly good education, even though I didn't go to a private school. Because back when I went to school in the 60s and the early 70s, school wasn't too bad. I learned. In fact, I remember going to the public library there in Southern California, West Covina, on those hot days in Southern California. I'd walk to the library, and I remember looking at the young adult section in the library. I was probably 12, 13 years old. And I remember saying to myself, well, you know what? I've read every book of interest that I'm interested in the adult section. I've already read all of them. I read books on Benjamin Franklin, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, the Founding Fathers, the early presidents. I read a lot of books on sports. Newt Rockney, Mickey Mantle, and I got inspired by these men. And so I had an education from the get-go and had an interest in American history and our form of government. Now, the difference now, what they're being taught, and I saw this a little bit when I was in college, is that now they're teaching democracy. And this is an education. They're not talking about Republican anymore. They're not talking about the natural rights of man. They're not teaching about the Constitution. You're never going to read Lex Rex. You're not going to read about the commandments, the effect that the 10 Commandments and their influence on American law in a public school. You're not going to get assigned Common Sense and the Rights of Man by Thomas Paine. What you're going to get is that we need to be open. You're going to get the teaching of openness. Education should be open to all kinds of men. We should be open to all kinds of lifestyles. We should be open to all kinds of ideas. And the enemy is the man who is not open to everything. See, we're supposed to embrace every other culture's just the same as our culture. Their ideas are just as legit and valid as our ideas. the Asians' idea of society is just as important as ours, and so we should just embrace. And now it's gotten so much worse. Now it's LGBT and their lifestyle and sodomites. I read during this attack on alleged attack in Pittsburgh there on the synagogue that 2 sodomites had adopted twins, and they were going through the rite of circumcision where they cut the tip of the boy's penis off, and then the rabbi gets to, well, you know what he does. You've seen the pictures. So that's how, see, that's supposed to be just as valid. 2 sodomites, 2 queers who get to adopt 2 boys. Can you imagine what those 2 boys are going to go through being with those men? I wanted to read you this before I run out of time. I got to keep it under 15. We're already at 12. This is Noah Webster in 1823. He said, "In selecting men for office, let principle be your guide. It is alleged by men of loose principles or defective views on the subject that religion and morality are not necessary or important qualifications for political office. But the scriptures teach a different doctrine. They direct that rulers should be men who rule in the fear of God, able men such as fear God, men of truth, hating covetousness." See, it's never enough with these people, folks. And they're able to buy their politicians, and because they can create, our enemy can create money, can create fiat. It's not money, it's fiat currency. It's a medium of exchange. They're able to create it out of thin air, and they're able to buy all the politicians up. And we already talked about what a politician is. He's a schemer. He's looking out for his best interests, not yours. And that's what we've come to in this country. And that's why they want all of these other non-whites to come into the country, because now they can vote. They get them signed up to vote, and 51% can come after the other 49%, and they can take away our rights, and that's what they're trying to do. And hopefully they will not succeed. We're not a democracy in the United States. It's a republic. And let me pause this for a minute. I wanted to put this up here so you can see that California Republic, and it's the Republic of Texas, it's the Republic of Arizona. Every state is their own republic. I'm running out of time. I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank you for sharing. Please get involved over at minds.com. May the grace of God our Father, upon whom His word our nation, this United States was founded on. Lex Rex. May His grace be upon us all, for we most certainly need it. See you.
Man, them crackers ain't gonna let us do that. Yo, you crazy? Man, them crackers ain't gonna let us do that. Yo, you crazy? Man, them crackers ain't gonna let us do that. Yo, you crazy?